Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren. I am a psychic development coach, and today we are going to be talking about your clairs and how you can strengthen them and what is blocking your psychic abilities. So each of these piles represents a different clair. You do not have to know or pick a clair. You can be intuitively drawn to whatever pile you want. After my little spiel here, I will tell you which pile is associated with which clair, in case you do want to look at just a very specific clair that you're trying to strengthen. I am setting the intention that this is timeless. Whenever you are coming to it, it will have relevant information for you. You can choose one pile, you can choose multiples. It is totally up to you. Ultimately, I want you to ask your guides which pile is for you, which clair should you be focusing on, and which one you need advice for. If you are new here, just know that I have a ton of videos on your clairs, on psychic development. Head on over and watch that after you're done with this, and please subscribe if you want more psychic development tips. I'm going to give you a couple seconds here to meditate on which card you want, and then at the end I will again tell you which card is associated with which clair. If you are looking to build a specific clair, let me tell you what is what. This pile number 1 is going to be Claircognizance. Pile number 2 is Clairaudience and Gustance. I'm kind of combining that one. Then we have Clairsentience number 3, Clairaudience number 4, and Clairvoyance number 5. All right, pile number 1. Let's start with where your Claircognizance is at this time. That is what this card represents. Okay, and we have peaks of joy. So your claircognizant ability probably is just kind of coming in and out. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. It's exciting when it does, but then I do feel like with this pile you get really demotivated when it's not coming through. So let's look at some of the blocks that you have around this next. All right, what blocks do we have around claircognizance? We have don't forget to protect. Part of your purpose. Interesting. Okay. So with claircognizance, you are probably forgetting to protect yourself. And that is just like focusing on your boundaries, making sure that you're setting your intention correctly, that you're speaking to the right source of information. So definitely do that before you start doing a reading, or just on a day-to-day basis, so that you can start experiencing those claircognizant hits more. I do have a video on like basic psychic protection if you're totally new to this. But it being part of your purpose, like I actually feel like this is saying that your claircognizance being like up and down, there's a reason for that. You're supposed to experience like what it feels like with it, what it feels like not with it, because you're supposed to understand how to regain control over your claircognizance. Like there's a reason why this psychic ability is just like not working for you sometimes. And I think you're supposed to like overcome these blocks. You're supposed to overcome like the lack of motivation so that your claircognizance can be on and in your control when you want it to be. But there's definitely a reason to the moments in your life where you've had this be super strong, and then not be super strong. And it is like, this card is usually interpreted differently, but I really feel like it's more talking about the purpose of the manifestation of your claircognizance not being there and then being there. It's like you're supposed to experience that lack before you can experience it being fully like working and on. And it's that they're telling me that the lack of motivation, that is like your biggest hurdle to get through with claircognizance. And maybe it's not even like motivation as much as like, feeling depressed or feeling like you're sabotaging your own abilities. Like, and when claircognizance, like when we talk about this, like I really see it as like all your clairs. It's really a culmination of them all. It's when psychic hits come in so fast and so quick that, it's not really one specific clair. And I feel like when you get really practiced, this is kind of the clair that you use most. It's also the clair that I would argue you start with. And so, like, to me, this is saying that, like, when you're on, when you're connected, when you're motivated, it works really well. But then there's moments in life where it's not on, it's not connected, it doesn't work well. And that's part of the purpose of it. You are supposed to experience that so that you can remember what it means to have it working and how to get back to it. And I really feel like truly your biggest blocks are just like remembering to get back on the bandwagon and practice, and then just doing like protection and making sure, you're following like the steps of like setting your boundaries, connecting to good spirits. Okay. So next I want to know, how can you strengthen your claircognizance? No one is coming to rescue you. You have to put in the work by yourself. That's what this card is all about. I think it's really easy to be like, oh, well, I'm going to do that another day, or I'm going to, wait around until it just feels like it. Like sometimes you just have to put in the work and do it. Yes. And then we have make a choice. Claircognizance, pile number 1, this is just about motivation and not having it and letting the past dictate your future. Just because you fall off the bandwagon, because you haven't practiced in a while, like don't let that get in your way, because ultimately no one's coming to save you. I feel like this, like Mel Robbins is popping in my head. She did like a speech about how sometimes you just don't feel motivated to do things. And, if you sat around and waited till you felt motivated, you would never get anything done. And so this rescue card to me is talking about how, sometimes we just have to put in the work. Sometimes we have to do the thing, even when we don't feel like it. And we can do it to the best of our abilities. But when we sit there and nitpick ourselves or, worry about the past or worry about the future, ultimately what we're doing is we're not taking action. And so I would encourage pile 1 to start doing like a daily practice, a daily something to like develop your psychic abilities. It could be pulling cards, it could be journaling, it could be doing like a really quick meditation to connect with your guides. Ultimately, this isn't going to grow without you and like your efforts. You have to put in the work. It's not just going to happen to you. I know this is kind of tough love coming in, but I think that's what you need to hear, because I'm hearing that like there's a lot of excuses of like why your claircognizance isn't working, and ultimately it's just like it's practice. It's getting past the motivation or the lack of motivation and getting it done, because ultimately you have a choice. You have a choice to strengthen it or to sit on it. And right now, I feel like we're not even, we're just sitting on it and we're not choosing to develop it more. So really with claircognizance, don't overcomplicate it. Start doing a daily practice where you ask a question and receive a psychic answer. Maybe it's every morning you wake up and you say, hey guys, what do I need to know about today? What's today going to be like? Start getting in that practice, and you're going to stop having, like, I don't want to say you're going to never have downtime where like your psychic ability is not working, but it's like the motivation, the lack of motivation won't be hindering you anymore, because you'll just wake up and you'll be like, oh, I know that today feels a little bit off, but I know I can tune into my psychic abilities at any time. And it's interesting too, we have 30, 32, 33, 16, 16. I'm just asking like the significance of these numbers, and I'm hearing like 2 halves of a whole. And they're telling me that like half of it is effort and half of it is motivation with your psychic ability. Half of it is like feeling good or not feeling good, and sometimes you're not going to feel good, but the other half of that is effort. When you put in the effort and still show up and make it your daily practice, like, you're going to get it done and you're going to continue to, strengthen that muscle. I think a perfect example of this is like working out, right? Like, we sometimes don't feel motivated to go to the gym to like take care of ourselves. And so sometimes you just have to do it. Sometimes you got to show up even when you don't feel like it. What should you be using your claircognizance for? Ooh, suspending disbelief. Interesting. I feel like this card is coming through to tell us, this is like inner child work, believing the impossible. I'm hearing magic. I'm hearing like believing in the mysticism of life. It's that optimistic, magical side of ourselves. And for some reason with claircognizance, we're supposed to connect to that suspension of disbelief. Like, we talk about suspension of disbelief in making movies. It's the ability to get your audience in and believe what's happening and not remember that it's a movie, right? And so, like, with your intuition, with mysticism, with metaphysics, it's like you're supposed to be using your intuition, your claircognizance to connect to this side of your life. It's that belief in the impossible. It's the reason why you got into psychic development in the first place, is what I'm hearing. Now, 2 exercises that you can try. This is your original card. And these are from the Build Your Psychic Skills 90-day cards. They were made by my mentor, Karen Fox. I'll link them down below. Let's see. Calendar precognition. Oh, I have a whole video on this. So you can make a calendar for your upcoming month. And this talks about like relax, focus on each day of the week, allow these colors to come to you, using like a color for different things for the week. So like green is a good day, yellow's a so-so day, red is maybe a problem day. And then you could take notes on that calendar. So maybe try to make a precognitive calendar just to kind of flex your claircognizant abilities. And then this one I pulled, this one is actually not an exercise, but just a great reminder. Self-doubt is part of the human experience. Excessive self-doubt gets in the way of your psychic abilities because you won't listen to your psychic sense. And then it goes on to talk about, when you don't have self-doubt, which I don't think is a problem for you guys. I think this pile is very much, again, like, you judge yourself when you're not, like, doing things perfectly. There's a lot of, like, self-criticism in this pile. And just know, like, even though we're talking about claircognizance, honestly, I feel like this is just, like, your psychic abilities. Like, I feel like that's what we're talking about. And just know that doubt is such a huge, I don't want to say like destroyer, but it just like kills the ability for psychic messages to come through. You can't doubt yourself. So like when things are not coming through, when going back to this Peaks of Joy card, like when your psychic abilities are not always perfect, you can't let that demotivate you. You have to understand that self-doubt is part of it, that sometimes messages don't come through, and that's totally okay. You just continue to do like your psychic routine, and you use it to connect to, again, this like magic spiritual side of your life. Now, I want to know if there's anything else you need to know about your psychic abilities. Ooh, and so I'm using my Spread Crafters deck, which I love. So generosity. So how can you practice generosity? And this is going to be in regards to your psychic abilities, specifically claircognizance. Interesting. And then I pulled the Six of Wands. This card to me kind of like feels like literally like using your abilities for others. Like there's some passion that comes about when you provide your like intuitive knowledge to others. And so maybe, by giving to others, by like giving readings or little tidbits of information, if that's something you feel comfortable doing, this might actually fire up your passion and your excitement for this again. Because there's something about giving this skill and like what you're good at to others that might help you tune into your claircognizance even more. I'm also hearing it's how can you give to yourself? And when that comes through with this card, the Six of Wands, like I do feel like that's also making sure like, hey, are you giving yourself the time, the energy, the readings too? Are you being that wounded healer who's given all the readings to everybody else, but not, asking what you need and, asking your guides how you can heal? Like, are you putting yourself last? So either way, pay attention to which one you think you are leaning towards, because I'm getting like maybe some of you are more of that wounded healer and you're putting yourself last, and then the other half of you are probably just not realizing that if you give to other people, if you give your psychic ability and that skill to others, it might actually motivate you to like use it more. And that's a good segue for, we have a Patreon group, and we actually get together once a month to practice reading each other. So if you want that practice and you don't have anybody you can really like do that with right now, feel free to look at the link below and come join us. All experience levels are welcome. So that is what I have for you, pile number 1. Just remember, I do have a whole video on Claircognizance. Feel free to watch that next, even if you just like want a refresher. All these cards are linked down below. And just remember too, you can book a coaching session with me anytime on my website. And I also have psychic development courses, which honestly I would always recommend you start there with. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 2, this pile is for Clairgustance and Clairaudience, which is your psychic tasting and smelling. And believe me, they work. So first up, I just want to know where these abilities are for you. We have storm fields. I actually feel like this is that when you get them, it's chaotic. When you get those tasting and like smelling messages, it's a little chaotic, and you might just not understand it, and it's really hard for you to like understand the message, which is like honestly that's like a step up, I would say. So like normally with Clairgustance and Aliens, I feel like most people just don't get those hits, but with this it's like you're getting them, but you're not quite understanding what they mean. So you got like half the message, and you're just like, what is going on? This is like messy. I don't know what this means. Okay. So next, what are our blocks around these 2 clairs? So, oh my gosh, we pulled this for the last pile. Don't forget to protect. Okay, must be a theme today. And what's our other one? Clear your energy. Man, okay. That's coming through loud and clear. So, and I mean, that makes sense. When your energy is not clear, you can pick up on all sorts of things. And so like I see this little tornado as like you're getting inundated with messages, and it's just like chaos. It's everywhere. And a lot of that is due to you might just be too open. You might be letting in too much. So maybe check out my video on like how to set your intention. Because in that video, I really talk about like how to narrow it down. Make sure you're getting it from one psychic source, not all the psychic sources, not all the voices. So it's very important to clear your energy so that you can receive these clairs clearly. But then also this comes down to like protection. That to me says that you're probably forgetting either whether you're intentionally connecting to Clairgustance or Aliens, or you're doing readings and you're just getting them. Maybe make sure you're protecting your energy in the sense of like, I feel like it just comes down to like, who are you talking to? Because I would say that when you're letting in all sources and not like honing it down to just one, then yeah, it's probably is that you're not protecting yourself from all those other sources. So in a way, it's like you're protecting yourself from all the extra voices, people talking. Because I am also getting that some of you get this randomly, like you'll get the smells and the tastes randomly, and it all comes down to like what I talk about in that video, which is like being in control of when and where the psychic hits show up. And it comes down to protecting your energy, setting the intention, So if you're new to that, definitely watch that. I'm not going to reiterate that in this video, but there's some issues with intention setting here, is what I'm trying to say. Cool. So how can we improve this ability is what I want to know next. The Clairgustance and Clairaudient ability. Rely on yourself more. Like, I'm getting with this one ring circus, like, maybe you're a little too reliant on like tools or other clairs. You really need to sit down and isolate these clairs if you want them to be strengthened. And that's like one of the huge things with Clairgustance and Aliens is that it just is such a lesser clair that we use that it's really important that we really sit down and like work with it individually so that we can understand what it feels like. And then it's a lot easier to be like, oh, okay, this is what Clairgustance is. And then you can strengthen it better. And then we have the Strength card, which I pulled in reverse. This to me says like, there's kind of this assumption or belief that you're not good at it. And so how we can improve it is literally like, I'm getting like strengthen a muscle. It's very similar to this card. Isolate this clair, work on exercises that are specific to training this clair, and I should say these clairs because we're really talking about two here. I have a whole video on Clairgustance and Clairaudience, and I think there's a chapter in there that specifically goes over exercises, so definitely check that one out. I'm also hearing nature is going to help you with Clairgustance and Aliens. Maybe just getting outside will help you get grounded more so that you can pick up that energy. Yeah, ultimately this to me is saying like clear your energy, reset, and then isolate these clairs and work with them specifically. Very straightforward. Okay. Now I'm curious, what should this pile be using these two clairs for? Ooh, these two clairs are just, you know, you might not pick up on them often, but it's going to give you confidence. Like when you start picking up on these hits and you can smell and you can taste, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, you feel more confident about your psychic abilities. And it kind of makes sense. Like, I feel like sometimes we really need to like have something really out of the ordinary or random happen to us psychically to believe that we are psychic. And so maybe you just do this one to remind yourself like, hey, I am psychic. Like I picked up on that smell and I know that smell was not anywhere close to where I was or something. So this is just going to give you a confidence boost on your psychic abilities in general. So if you're ever like feeling not confident, pull out your Clairgustant and Clairaudient exercises and hopefully that'll give you some confidence. All right, and then I wanted 2 exercises for you for your Clairgustance and Aliens. And this is from the Build Your Psychic Skills cards that my mentor created. And we have, use your non-dominant hand and meditate at the same time of day. Are you going to focus? There we go. Use your non-dominant hand. Each time you do this, think about how you're strengthening your psychic sense to assist you with your life. One of the things my mentor talked often about is like doing things differently, using your non-dominant hand, going a different way to work, like driving a different way, walking backwards, even though it feels a little silly. Like doing those things kind of gets you out of your left brain, out of your logical, analytical mind. It kind of like makes pattern interrupts, and it kind of encourages you to think more creatively and get in touch with that more intuitive side of yourself. So using your non-dominant hand, honestly, like it feels more like it's the play outside your rut. These pink cards are the playing outside your rut, doing things differently. I think that advice in general, non-dominant hand. Another exercise is like focus on the peripherals. Don't focus on like the main thing. Like when you're watching a screen, like don't focus on the subject, focus on like the background. Little things like that. It's like training your mind again to focus more on the intuitive, on the things that we don't just normally fall into, that we're just like on autopilot. It encourages you to be present, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So that's a great exercise. And then we have this one. So I'm being drawn to the color flashcards. This deck has like flashcards with it, but you can also like just make your own flashcards, and it's like psychically reading the color of the card. Use that but with smells. So if all you have are like red cards and black cards in like a playing deck, assign a smell, assign a taste to red, assign a smell, and assign a taste to black. Turn them all face down, and then try to guess which card is which by picking them up, smelling the card, tasting the card. I know that sounds weird, but ask your guides to give you that smell or that taste. And then because of your association with it, you're going to be able to taste one or the other, and then you're going to be like, okay, that one I think is black, or that one I think is red. That's a great exercise to do. And the last thing I want to ask, is there anything else we need to know about these abilities? I'm using my Spread Crafters card. Ooh, interesting. So, and basically these cards are used to like make a spread. So I pull this, which is like a placeholder, and then I pull a card for this actual card. So we need to know that in regards to our Clairgustance and Aliens, we've got selfhood, introspection, and identity. So that is something we need to know about when it comes to this. It's something that we need to be introspective of in our identity with these two Clairs. We have Four of Swords. And I pulled it in reverse. This to me says that we've just been resting on these Clairs. Like, we're not really exercising them, like resting on, I should say, strengthening them. And like the time for rest is over. We don't really like need anything else. We just need to actually start practicing them. The time for rest is over. And I would say too, like, this offers up the question of, you know, looking at ourselves and going inwards, like, why do we rest on these? Like, why do we feel like we can't strengthen these? There's definitely this energy of like, I can't control this. It kind of just happens to me. And oh well, like that's sort of like this giving up type of energy. And so I think this is saying like, we have control. We can make this change. We don't have to sit on not flexing this ability anymore. We can isolate it, we can strengthen it. Awesome. Well, pile number 2, that is the reading that I have for you. Again, know that I've got a whole video on Clairgustance and Aliens that you can check out. You can book a reading with me, a psychic development coaching session with me at any time. I also have psychic development courses that are specifically designed to help you strengthen all of your Clairs. So feel free to check that out. All the cards that I used are linked down below. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Alrighty, bye. Pile number 3, welcome back. We are going to be talking about Clairsentience in this pile, whether you chose that intentionally or not. So the first thing I want to do, I just want to get an awareness of where you are at with this Clair. And we are waiting to be rescued. There's a lot of like similar themes across all the piles so far. Rescue being, I'm just making sure this is the same message. Yeah. Okay. And rescue is like, there's this energy of waiting around for somebody to like fix it or like provide us the right counsel or, you know, techniques or tools. Like there's kind of this like not taking action energy around Clairsentience. That's part of it. Another part of it that I just got also was that a lot of us are afraid of our Clairsentience. We are often overwhelmed by the emotions, the energy that we're picking up, and we might be like shutting it down, or it's just coming in too much and it's overwhelming. And this is us like wanting something or someone to save us. And that's not bad. You know, sometimes it is helpful to have that energy so you can seek out mentors, you can learn about it and figure out what's going on. But there's a little bit more of this leaning towards not wanting to fix it because you're a little too afraid. And there's things that can be done, is like what I'm hearing. So let's first focus on the blocks that we have around our clairsentience. What is blocking us? Ooh, we're not meditating. We're not, and you know, it doesn't have to be meditating. This to me is getting in that receptive psychic mind, like before or after we do readings. Like I'm hearing that there's a lot of monkey mind, there's a lot going on mentally, and we need to remember to ground that energy. We need to remember to calm our mind in whatever way you need to. It could be meditating, it could be going on a walk, it could be taking a bath. Like literally, it's whatever works for you. But we need to calm our mind so that we can deal with the energy that's coming through. And a lot of times, like when we're just inundated, like I feel like that's the majority of us here, is we're just being inundated by a lot of this, and it's too much. So you're either like shutting it off completely, or you're just like allowing it to be like crazy all the time in your mind. So just remember, have a practice, have something you can do whenever you are feeling overwhelmed, so that you can calm your mind and get this, like, I don't want to say under control, but I do want to say that, because like you can't be living with this on all the time, your clairsentience. It's just too much to be feeling everyone else's stuff. It's, you know, you shouldn't expect that of yourself. So you really need to get into a practice so that you can ground these messages, ground this energy. This is like such an important part of our practice, because also, you know, if you're receiving all these messages, you could be like picking up on the wrong message for the wrong person. You could also have your own thoughts mixed in there, and you could just be like giving out counseling instead of psychic hits. And so it's really important to know how to get grounded and calm your mind so you can differentiate what's psychic, what's not, what's mine, what's yours, who's this message for? Is this some random spirit that has nothing to do with this right now? You know, it's very important to have that as an empath and as a very clairsentient person in place. Another block we're experiencing, do your research. This to me says that you might not know a lot about clairsentience, how it works, how it affects you. I would definitely watch my video that's specifically about clairsentience. I try to go over everything I would possibly know about clairsentience in that video. But just learning more about it is going to make you feel more empowered. You're not going to wait around and be like, I need more information before I can start, or I need this before I can, you know, shut this down. Do the research so you feel comfortable to move forward, either shutting this off, because I feel like some of us need to do that first, or to be able to strengthen it and use it more. Like I'm just hearing loud and clear, like you have control over this clair. A lot of us feel like we don't, and I want you to start saying that. I have control over my clairsentience. It does not have control over you. That's very important. All right. Next, I want to know, how do we strengthen this clair? Lots of like ocean energy. We got ride the wave. Ooh, okay, this is very specific. It's almost like as you're getting these intuitive hits, they can feel a little overwhelming at first. This is for those of you who want to strengthen it, and not necessarily want to shut it down, but it's almost like, it's kind of like lean into the fear. You know, maybe you start to get these hits and you're like, oh God, oh God, oh God, shut it down. You know, but this is saying like, let the wave come over you, let the psychic hit, the emotion, whatever it is, let it come over you, feel into it, but then let it pass. It's very important that you like feel it to its fullest, more so you can get the message. Again, like do not do that if it's overwhelming, if you don't feel like you can shut it off. But if you do, this is like, allow it to come through more, like feel it more, because then it's going to dissipate. And that's the other part of this, is like, make sure it dissipates. Do not keep it. Do not keep that energy. I love that. I love that as like a strengthening message. It's almost like, be brave. Let it really come through. All right. And then we have another way you can strengthen it is through spark, finding sparks in your life, finding things that get your passion going, that excite you, that, just like give you that sense of joy in life. And I'm hearing to use an example because sometimes like we just do not feel connected to that. And like right now, I'm super into learning about like witchcraft. And so I'm following that joy, I'm following that spark. Like if I feel like, oh wow, what is that? I want to look into that. I'd like go down the rabbit hole. I'll do that. And like that is definitely increasing my psychic abilities because I'm talking to my guides. I'm, getting hits about it. And it's just like I'm believing in that magic, and because of that, like my intuition is being like awakened. So although it seems indirect, there is something to be said about diving into our creative and passionate pursuits that will increase our psychic abilities. I feel like I could make like a whole video or a podcast on that. I do feel like creativity and your intuition and your imagination are all like heavily linked. And when you grow one, you grow all of them, if that makes sense. So do activities that spark that joy, that get you excited. And so going into my next question, which is your original card from the Build Your Psychic Skills deck from my mentor, I wanted to ask what exercises you could do. Oh, I skipped a card. We'll finish this anyway, and then I'll go back. But this is Psychic Play Day, exactly like what I was just talking about. You got to play and have fun with your abilities. Let's see. And in this exercise, we're using our clairs. We're going to specifically say we're using our Clairsentience to answer yes or no questions. So, and do it to obvious ones. Ooh, that's interesting. Is my living room painted red? Is George Washington the current president of the U.S.? You can even say, is my name Lauren? And then feel the answer, feel the yes, feel the no. I love that. Use that to kind of like get a better understanding of like what's psychic, what's not. Like, because the answers to those questions, and by like feeling those answers out, you're going to know, okay, well, I obviously know the answer to that is yes, or obviously the answer is like, my name is Lauren. So if I just got that wrong, then okay, maybe I need to like pivot and adjust what I'm doing here. Another exercise, dreams. The blue cards are dream days. Drive a different direction to work, the store, wherever you go lately or regularly. That's one exercise. Another exercise, think about a person you care about as you enter sleep. Put pen and paper by your bedside. Record any dream or dream fragment when you wake up. I think that one's like the key here because you guys are so clairsentient. Use dream work to enhance that clairsentient abilities. You're probably going to feel things really well in your dreams. And again, go in with the intention of dreaming about somebody and you're going to get some cool messages for them. All right, the card that I skipped. I wanted to know what you should use your clairsentience for. Ooh, crystals. Yes. Okay. I want you to try, these are just like a bunch of exercises coming through. Crystals. Hold the crystal in your hand. Do I have one next to me? I do. Hold the crystal in your hand. Feel the energy of that crystal. It might take a while, but it's going to feel a certain way. Maybe it's vibrating, maybe it's pulsing, maybe it starts to like shoot up your arm. Like, do not judge it. Don't try to make it fit into a box. Just feel that energy of that crystal in your hand because you are clairsentient. And this is kind of psychometry, what I'm showing you. And then what you can do is once you finally feel that crystal and what it feels like, match your energy. Imagine your whole body matching the energy of that crystal. Try to sync it up as if it's two heartbeats beating at the same time. And then once you're done with that, you can just use the crystal, pull its energy in, and use that crystal to feel its properties. I also think the crystal card is probably coming through to tell you that you can use crystals to also like use that same technique to get more grounded, to get more meditative. So find a crystal that to you really says like calming, grounding energy, and use those crystals in your practice, because for whatever reason, you might feel into them really well, and then you can use them to actually like get grounded and do the psychic work that you want to do. So you can actually use that as a technique, or in order to help you get more calm and grounded, or even like the other way. Like if you really want to strengthen this psychic ability, grab a stone that is literally for your psychic ability, which that's what I had, amethyst. And the last thing I want to ask is anything else we should know about this Claire? And I'm using my Spread Crafter Oracle deck, which is like used to make like spreads, which is kind of cool. And so I pulled Victory. So you need to know something that like validates this ability, where you're victorious, where like you're actually good at Clairsentience. So where is that? Where do we need to know? Six of Pentacles. Okay. So with this card of like what you're doing well, like what you're good at with your Clairsentience, we have the Six of Pentacles, and this to me is, it's like you are really good at setting those boundaries of not being too empathic with other people's stuff. Like I feel like this pile, even though, you know, sometimes you're a little afraid of it and it's a little overwhelming, you know how to shut it off. You know how not to take it like too far, if that makes sense. And the Six of Pentacles to me is very much like doing this balance, this give and take of, you know, taking care of other people, taking care of yourself, not like taking on their energy too much. And you need to remember that. You need to remember that you are good at setting those boundaries, but this is kind of like, this is helping you take it to the next level. This is reminding you that, hey, if you calm your mind more, those hits are going to be stronger. If you feel it and let it come in a little bit more and kind of push yourself to maybe where it's a little bit scary, you're going to strengthen that even more. So I love that this reading came through. You know, I did this pick a card reading like maybe 2 years ago. And I was always like, I could redo this easy. And I was worried that some of the messages that were going to come through were the same, and it's totally different. So loving this. Specifically for Clairsentience, you guys, it's like, my fear was it's going to be like, hey, remember, don't be empathic. But it's almost like, no, you're good at that. You've gotten the basics down. Here's how to take it to the next step. Awesome. That is the reading that I have for you, pile number 3. Just remember, I have a whole video for you on Clairsentience if you want to check that out. You can book a coaching session with me at any time on my website. I also have psychic development courses if you really want to jump in and develop these abilities even more. All of these decks are linked down below, but let me know what you thought. Let me know where you are struggling with your Clairsentience, and I will see you in my next one. Alrighty, bye. Pile number 4, welcome back. Your pile is Clairaudience, whether you chose that intentionally or not. That is what your guides want you to focus on and strengthen. So first, let's just see where you are at with this ability. All right, and we have 1 ring circus in reverse. It's interesting because what I'm hearing is like you're getting one thing at a time. Like I pulled this for a different pile and I'm getting a totally different message. It's almost like you're getting like one-word answers. That's what it is. You're getting like one-word answers and like one little bit at a time, and it's like, it's frustrating. And not that there's anything wrong with that, you know, any message is awesome. But I think right now you're kind of at that, like, I get a little bit, and I want more. And that's where we're at. So that's great. I think that that's like, you're probably past the stage of being totally new to this, or maybe you're totally new to it, but at least you're getting messages pretty often. It's just that you're getting it probably not as much as you would like it to come through. So that's a great place to start. Let's focus next on like what's blocking your clairaudience right now. And I want this card and this card. Time to learn and have confidence. Okay, time to learn more about your clairaudience. Like, I'm getting that this is like how it works. I'm getting that it's a lot learning through experience, because like we all experience these clairs differently. Like when I hear things, like I will often hear my guides like say things like, oh, it's like that one time that you did this. And like they will use a certain language or certain examples that only I would like obviously understand. So some of this is going to come from experience and learning how they communicate to you clairaudiently. Because I feel like some people like literally hear their guides' voices more, which is like kind of where I gravitate towards. And then some people just have thoughts, and they have to kind of learn how to separate those thoughts from like your own thoughts. It's like which thoughts are psychic and which aren't. So I do feel like this is probably, for those of you who are very new to it, definitely learn the basics of clairaudience. Like I have a whole video on it that I will put in a card. But I feel like this is learning through practice, and it's learning your guide's specific language. It's how they communicate to you. Do they communicate symbolically? Do they communicate literally? Even through clairaudience, you know, they're gonna like use certain words, or they're going to like be jokey with you, or maybe they're really like firm and tough love. Like maybe like when I experience clairaudience, because it's like my strongest clair, I feel like my guides are like talking from behind me, whereas my own thoughts I feel like come from inside my head. Like there's like this spatial awareness to it. It's interesting. So yeah, learn about how it comes through, like just by paying attention, jotting down notes as you do readings for yourself and for others. Like take note of how that works for you. And then having confidence. Like right now you're definitely blocked. You feel maybe that you are not good at clairaudience, that it's not working for you. I think that makes sense with this one reading circus. It's probably because you're getting those one hit, two hits, or not full sentences, and so you're beating yourself up. And just know here that there's no right way or wrong way. Sometimes I just get one word answers and I have to string them together and keep asking questions in order to get the full message. Sometimes you get a full message, like a full sentence or something. But ultimately, your confidence is affecting this ability. So try to focus on the wins. Try to focus on when you do get it right. Don't beat yourself up when you get it wrong. Just know that this is practice. You know, practice makes perfect, and you're not going to be perfect. So I shouldn't even use that quote. I feel like a lot of it is that I just need to validate that sometimes it comes through slowly, and that is okay. But ultimately, like, again, you're good at this. It's coming through. Even just like focusing on your solar plexus or doing the shadow work to ask yourself, like, why do I not feel confident around this ability? That's a great starting point for working through this block. Or just use one of my block removal meditations and just see what comes up. Sometimes you have the craziest things blocking you that you just didn't even know were there. Next, I want to also know where we can strengthen these abilities, how we can strengthen them. Shut up. Listening. That's so funny. Okay. Listening will strengthen our clairaudience. And let's pull one more card. Ooh, solitude. Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was feeling with this listening card is like, sometimes we need to sit and be quiet. In order to listen. And so maybe this is like being alone, or this is like minimizing distractions, like, you know, getting into a quiet space. Like I feel like this is like meditating for a while, or like getting centered before we actually try to receive the psychic information. It's like calming down, calming your mind so that you can fully hear the things that are coming through. So like this is like definitely listening in the sense of like sitting down and actually like listening to psychic hits by calming your psychic mind. I referenced that video in the last pile. You can see the cards in this video, but if you check out my video on how to receive, how to get centered, how to get like grounded, that video is like going to explain like what I'm trying to say here. But I think that the other half of this is also just like using your ears, like paying attention to normal auditory sounds. And when you go about your day, like, you know, like one thing I always say, like with clairvoyance, pay attention to what you see. Clairaudience, pay attention to what you hear. Like, try to stop yourself in moments like at work or just like when you're doing various things, like stop and notice all the sounds that are around you. Like even right now, like I can do that right now and it's quiet here in my shed. I can hear my own voice. I can hear the whirring fan on my computer. What else can I hear? Not a whole lot because I try to make it really quiet in here for these videos, but you get my drift. Sometimes just paying attention to your ears, your auditory senses day to day, it shifts your focus to that. And I love that that's kind of coming through also as like an exercise that we can do. So definitely one way to strengthen it. But remember to actually take time out of your day too to sit down, to be quiet and be with your psychic ability. That's such a huge part that sometimes we only do it as we're on the go, and we have to remember to slow down sometimes, get quiet, and just be alone with our abilities and, you know, sit and receive those messages. Okay. The next thing I want to ask is what you should be using your clairaudience for specifically right now. Ooh, interesting. For tapping into your healing abilities, I know this says natural healer, but I'm more focused on like healing others, healing yourself. There's information that's trying to come through about how you or others can heal. I feel like it's very like simple like that. I do feel like this pile, like a lot of you are readers for other people. But I'm hearing that like you don't just have to heal through like touch, through Reiki or something. You know, you can heal through your words. You can heal through these clairaudient hits that you get, that you pass along. So yeah, it's as simple as that. Use your clairaudience to heal yourself and heal others. I love that. That's such a good intention to even have just going into readings. All right, and then the next thing I asked, and this was your original card, from your Build Your Psychic Skills deck that was made by my mentor. These are like exercises that you do daily. Okay, and you got a dream day exercise, and this is something you could do to exercise your abilities. You know, and I'm being drawn, these are like 4 different things. I'm being drawn to the go to your private place 3 times a day. That's in reference to like building your psychic sanctuary, which I have a meditation on how to find your psychic sanctuary. And that is perfect because solitude, sorry if I'm screaming at you, because, you know, when you go to your psychic place, it's in your mind, right? It's somewhere that you can go to connect with your guides, to connect with intuitive information at any time. And when you know that, when you have that, you can go sit in silence and you can visit it at any time. I usually like to do it like right before bed. But if you haven't already found your psychic place, go find it and actively like make an effort, maybe once a week, to go to your psychic sanctuary and sit and listen. Maybe imagine a place in your sanctuary if you already have it. You know, ask your guides, give me a place that I can sit and listen and hear things. Like, you know, it's my clairaudience chair, or it's the area in my psychic sanctuary where I can just go and receive messages from you guys. Cool, I love that. And then I wanted to pull one more exercise for you. It's the same one, go to your private place. Smile. I love that. Smile. Even if you have to fake it, smile. At the end of the day, write in your journal about what it felt like to smile more than usual. Sorry if you couldn't see that. I don't know how that connects to clairaudience, but it does. Try that exercise. And the last thing I want to ask is, I'm using my Spreadcrafters Oracle. It's like used to make spreads. And so I'm just asking if there's anything else we need to know about clairaudience. Man, We have some trauma, some healing to do, a deep dive we need to do around our clairaudience. Okay. What do we need to know about it? So basically, I'm pulling a card for this. What's the trauma? What needs to be healed? The sun. Okay. The sun is usually about like success, optimism, like it's a really good card. It's usually about like really happy things in our life. How's this trauma? It's the lack of this. It's when we get depressed, it's when we feel like we are not successful. It's feeling like, you know, we don't have sun moments in our life. It's feeling like just very pessimistic. That pessimistic energy, for some reason, is affecting your clairaudience. So it might be time to do a little deep dive into why is that there? Where do I feel pessimistic? Where do I feel pessimistic about life, about this ability? Maybe it's your psychic abilities in general, but there might have been some trauma, or maybe just, you know, something in your past that was minimal that really made you feel like you couldn't have success, that you couldn't be optimistic, and ultimately it's affecting your psychic abilities. I want to pull one more card. Anything else of what this could be? Five of Cups. It was something, for each of us it's different, but it's emotional. Like whatever it was a moment in our life that was extremely emotional, that really, like, you look back at it as a milestone in your life of like, that's the day I became more pessimistic. It feels like a big thing for each of us. Go back to that time, see what created that divide in your mind of why you can't have success, of why you can't have beautiful, awesome, amazing things in your life, why you can't feel optimistic. Focus on healing that. Focus on diving into that, because that is affecting your clairaudience. And I'm just getting your psychic abilities in general. Interesting. So that is what I have for you, pile number 4. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about your clairaudience, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And know that I have all of these links for these decks as well below. Besides this one, you can't get this one anymore. But you can also book a coaching session with me anytime on my website. I also have psychic development courses if you're really wanting to strengthen all of your clairs and your psychic abilities in general. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Alrighty, bye. Welcome back. Pile number 5. If you chose this pile is all about clairaudience and how you can strengthen it. So let's see. First, I want to start by just knowing where you're at with your clairvoyance. Ooh, okay. We're seeing things we don't want to see. And I'm hearing for some of you, it's that you want to see things and you're not seeing them. So as I pull more cards, we'll kind of see, but we'll look into both. So yeah, you're either seeing, I think what it is that you probably saw things at first and it freaked you out, and maybe you've shut it down a little bit. I think that's what the majority of everyone has happened, or has happened for everyone. So let's first look into what blocks we have around our psychic ability, specifically clairvoyance. Okay. Yeah, I think for the majority of us, it's that we saw something, it freaked us out, and maybe we're shutting it down. Or yeah, for a very small percentage of you, it's that you want to see things, and then you're like feeling guilty or crappy because you're not seeing things, and you think that like your ability is like less good. But based on these blocks, claircognizant ability, okay. Based on these blocks that we're getting, I'm guessing that it's more of the former. So the does it feel good card, like when this comes up, this to me says that like in the past, again, we probably had situations where we were connecting with like negative spirits, or maybe we were reading ourselves or somebody else and it like just didn't feel good. It felt icky for whatever reason. And ultimately, again, I just keep getting this like something negative happened and we shut it down. And your guys want you to know that like you can jump back into this and it can feel good. It can be okay. Like your clairvoyant ability does not have to be scary. You can see positive things. You can set the intention that you're only going to talk to your spirit guides of your highest and best good. You right now are associating clairvoyance with something scary. And just know that you can set the intention. You decide what you talk to and what you don't talk to. And I recently came out with a video on like how to set that intention. Definitely like a watch if this is resonating with you at all. But ultimately, like I feel like you're telling yourself that your clairvoyant ability is again associated with like negative experiences, and it doesn't have to be that way. It can be good experiences. You can talk to good visitors. Like it doesn't have to be negative stuff. And then the claircognizant ability. That's interesting that this is popping up in clairvoyance. Like the first thing that I'm hearing is that your claircognizance is just stronger. Like you just know sometimes. Oh, and that's why, for those of you who I was getting that like you're not seeing things, I think it's just because your claircognizance is stronger, and so it's like you don't need to see them because it's so fast. It doesn't mean like you can't strengthen your clairvoyance, but it's just like an explanation of what's happening. I do think though, for some of you too, you also feel things as they come up. Like maybe claircognizance is very strong for you. And because you feel things and because you feel that negativity, especially with this, does it feel good? There's a lot of feel here. You know, it could be that your claircognizance is actually overwhelming you, which is why you're afraid to see things, because you're afraid that that's going to overwhelm you too. So it might be worth jumping on over to my claircognizant reading, or just learning about claircognizance and maybe how to tone it down. So you're less afraid of toning up your clairvoyance. Overall, what I'm getting though is like your clairvoyance is not going to be as intense as your claircognizance. And it doesn't have to be, or sorry, not claircognizance, clairsentience. I know I'm all over the place, but it does feel very like feeling oriented. And when you switch from these other clairs to clairvoyance, I actually feel like it's going to be less intense. That's ultimately what I'm trying to say. Am I missing anything here with this? Just to know, like, it's okay if clairvoyance isn't your strongest. Like, I'm getting that a lot of you, like, claircognizance or clairsentience is your strongest. And, you know, I'm always the advocate of, like, you can absolutely strengthen each clair, but, like, you're not less than for not being able to see things. It's just you have a natural tendency somewhere else, and that's totally okay. Okay. Gosh, I feel like I'm getting so many different messages for so many different groups, because then I'm also hearing that there's some of you where your strongest clairs are clairsentience, claircognizance, and clairvoyance, and it's like this message of use them in tandem. Ultimately, there's this like interplay going on, and some of it's affecting each other negatively. Again, you might be feeling things too much, which is making you afraid. Or you might have a stronger clair, which is making you feel like you're less than, or like you can't strengthen this. Bringing it back. Ultimately, do what feels good. Understand that your clairvoyance can be a good thing. And that some of your clairs might need to be like isolated, set to the side. Just tell your guides, hey, I want to strengthen clairvoyance and clairvoyance only. As you get those psychic hits, just say, hey, nope, don't give it to me in a feeling, give it to me clairvoyantly. Like that's how we isolate those clairs and get them stronger, is just focusing on techniques specifically for that clair, but then also like as you experience the hits, be like, no, 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 give it to me with a visual, please. All right. So going back to how do we strengthen this, because that's ultimately what we're here to go after. Ooh, sacred pool. Self-care, that's what that card is about. Like definitely need, this card has come up for every pile. And Wandering Circus. And I'll start here because that's exactly what I was describing. Isolate the clair. Focus on just one. Don't like try to combine them all. We need to isolate this clair more. Stop using claircognizance or clairsentience as a crutch. You know, not that that's like a bad thing, but like if you're really focusing on like, hey, I want to see things, really try to force yourself to only get visuals and like ignore the rest and really tell your guides, no, 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 give me visuals. Anything else with this pile? No, I think that's it. It's just like, well, they're telling me no. I was wondering if it was that maybe you're just getting like one visual at a time. I feel like this is maybe for one person, but like sometimes with clairvoyance, you just get like a snapshot. Like it's a really quick flash of an image and then it's gone. Like a lot of us feel like with clairvoyance, we have to like watch a movie and it's got to be from like start to finish. That's not always how clairvoyance comes through. Sometimes it can be just like a flash frame and you just get like bits and pieces. It's like you're watching like a really old movie and then you string it together to like form the message. I do feel like that is like a hindrance for some people. And just know it's okay. It's okay to just have like little flashes and bursts. Sometimes that's just how it comes through. And then with the sacred pool self-care, this to me says like we need to take care of our mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. When you prioritize self-care, you end up helping your psychic ability because what you're doing is you're focusing on block removal, you're focusing on like making yourself happy, you're focusing on, you know, the things that you need and want. And when you do that, you become a cleaner and clearer vessel. You become a healthier psychic when you're cleaner from jumping into this pool of self-care, if that makes sense. And really, like when we have a lot of stress, when we have a lot of anxiety, when we have a lot of blocks, like it can absolutely hinder our ability, and specifically our ability to see. So this to me is like clean up the gunk, clean up your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual well-being so that you can ultimately be a cleaner and clearer vessel for those clairvoyant hits to come through. And if that's like totally new to you and you're like, what the heck is that? I would just check out my video on like shadow work or like psychic block removal, because I see those things as like one and the same. And when we can focus on giving ourselves the things that we need, which is also kind of like removing blocks or self-care, ultimately you will be able to receive a lot better with your abilities. So that might be another good video to check out if you're like, I don't know how to do that. But if you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to do a little bit of that shadow work, I need to do a little bit of block removal, I know that, you know, I'm not getting enough sleep, I know that I'm not eating well, like whatever that is for you, it's kind of blocking your clairvoyant abilities. I think a lot of it is fear. And then another part of it, again, is just like not isolating that clair and just focusing on that clair. So what should we be using our clairvoyance for? Ooh, ritual. I feel like you should just kind of be using it for yourself right now. When the ritual card pops up, like I really see it as it kind of similar to the sacred pool of like creating a thing that you do every day to grow your psychic abilities and getting in the ritual, getting in the habit really of using your clairvoyance once every day for like a minute, 2 minutes, once a week, like whatever it is, whatever you can commit to. Really try to establish a routine with your clairvoyance. And I think ultimately it's going to give you messages for yourself. Like you are going to get day-to-day messages about whatever's going on in your life. And I think you need to have this clairvoyance like through your own personal experiences to get comfortable with it and to recognize what that clairvoyance like looks like. Before you like share it with anybody else or like try to do anything crazy with it, like just get into the basic establishment of like, okay, every day I'm going to ask, how is my day going to go? You know, guides, give it to me clairvoyantly. Like doing this ritual will help you just one, increase your abilities, but two, get information from yourself. And overall, that's going to give you experience with your clairvoyance. And then that's going to, you know, help you kind of override these other clairs, but also like make you realize, you know what, I can focus on good things. Like it can feel good. It can be helpful. It doesn't have to be just like connecting to spirits. Like I can just see things before they happen for my day or something. I'm also hearing that like when you just, if you are doing readings for other people, try to get into more of a routine of like, here's how my readings start, here's how they end. Like maybe you're a little bit scattered and it needs to be a little bit more structured, so that you can get those clairvoyant hits to come through. So maybe it's that you like set the intention at the beginning. I'm going to see things clairvoyantly. And then maybe you very specifically in the middle of your reading use the TV screen technique where you look at a TV screen and you turn on the channel and you expect the psychic information to be on that TV screen. And then maybe at the end of your reading, you do something to help affirm your clairvoyant abilities. Like get into a ritual and like make sure to do it every time. Because again, this is like about isolating that clair. It's about strengthening that one muscle. It's like you're strengthening, like, I don't know actual muscles very well. Your abs. You're isolating those abs and you are like focusing on just strengthening those. And that's what we got to do here with your clairvoyance. And the next thing that I wanted to ask was for like an exercise that you can use for your clairvoyance. And this was your original card from the Build Your Psychic Skills deck made by my mentor. Let's see. Okay, and I think this is the playing card. Yeah, because there's a couple exercises on here and I just go with what I'm intuitively called to focus. So use your clairvoyance to psychically read cards. All you got to do is get a deck of playing cards, and then like put them all face down. So think your red and your black cards. And then you want to pick up a card and try to read it clairvoyantly. Is this a red card or is this a black card? And you want to see it. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to feel it. You know, you want to isolate that clair and ask to see the color. So that's a great, really simple exercise that you can do. Maybe, again, you incorporate that. Every night, maybe really quick, you do just like one full pass of a deck of cards. Ooh. And then your other exercise I actually pulled from the purple cards, and these ones are kind of like little quotes, little reminders. And this one says, when you get a hunch, a small imperceptible intuition, act on it. Acting on hunches increases your psychic abilities. And I feel like that's saying to me that you probably are getting intuitive hits. You're probably seeing things. Remember to act on them, because when you do so, again, it increases your abilities. You're validating your psychic ability. You're not writing it off and being like, oh, I didn't see that. You know, so like if you see something out of the corner of your eye, you know, stop, pause, be like, I'm going to act on this by like talking to this and saying, who are you? Who's here? Or perhaps you're asking a question and you get an answer clairvoyantly to like go to this store, like act on it, go to that store, go to that place. By acting on it, again, you validate your psychic ability, and we want to validate our clairvoyance specifically. And we want to say we respect it, we trust it, we think it's legitimate. And when you think that, it becomes that, and you feel that. And then the last thing I wanted to ask is if there was anything else we needed to know about our clairvoyance. Ooh. And we need to know about some synchronicities that are coming through clairvoyantly. What are signs that surround you right now? Which is funny because it's kind of like what we just talked about. And so I'm going to pull another card to answer this question. These kind of act as like questions, and you pull another card for it. So what signs are you currently getting? Ooh, Ace of Swords. So like anything, if anything sticks out, imagery-wise, the text, like definitely take it, but there's some synchronicities. First reading it as the card, it's like new thoughts, new ideas coming into your life. You're having these new epiphanies, and it's like you're seeing these thoughts mirrored in synchronicities. Like, best example I can think of is like, I've been having these ideas on like manifestation and what it could mean. And I had these new thoughts that I'm thinking, right? They're mine. And then I watched a movie, and the movie like literally explained exactly what I like had thought. And so that would like be a synchronistic moment. So there's a castle here. These can be signs. So if you see castles, if you see birds, if you see this like, I would say she's like a very like Celtic looking woman. Like I'm hearing Bridget or even Ceridwen is what I'm hearing. If you see the sword, like those are going to be signs. Again, act on those. Pay attention to those visuals. Even if like as a whole you're seeing like this to me says like Scotland or Ireland for some reason. Pay attention to those signs, those little coincidences, not coincidences that happen around you. But ultimately pay attention to the new thoughts that are coming through. Ultimately you're getting like thoughts, you're getting downloads of information. That's probably that claircognizant ability. Maybe even clairaudience. Like I feel like this pile kind of, you have them all. But you're ultimately getting like new ideas, new downloads that's going to help you increase your clairvoyance. And when you look out for synchronicities visually, what happens is, again, you manifest more of them. You have more psychic hits, you have more synchronicities coming through. And so maybe just paying attention to those synchronicities is a good place to start when you feel like every time you're sitting down to like purposely receive clairvoyant hits and you're not getting any. Sometimes it's helpful to look for like literal signs in your outward environment, and that can kind of get the ball rolling with your clairvoyance. Like focus on your visuals, focus on your peripherals, focus on like what you see day to day, like looking around like, wow, okay, the sky is this way. I'm like really paying attention to my eyesight. Like things like that will also help you like get your clairvoyance kind of like moving. Awesome. That is what I have for you, pile number 5. Just remember, I have a whole video on clairvoyance, so maybe go watch that next if you need a refresher, or if you're totally new to me. All of these decks I have linked down below. You can book a coaching session with me anytime on my website. I also have psychic development courses. You are welcome to sign up at any time. But yeah, let me know what issues, what challenges you're having with your clairvoyance in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Now, for those of you who were curious about the astro dice, I just wanted to add this little bit at the end. I pulled this kind of for all piles, and we have Pisces, Pisces in the, or North Node in Pisces in the 5th house. And ultimately, the astro dice say to me, that what we're doing is we're focusing on improving our psychic abilities, and we're having struggles because the North Node is all about strengthening our abilities. And I pulled a card for each of these. It's about also a big theme for all of these piles, not waiting around on somebody else to like fix this for us. It's that we have to put in the action to do it ourselves. That is what's kind of hard with the North Node. It's like, it's the stuff you don't want to do. It's the self-work that you need to do that you often don't. And when that's in Pisces, Pisces is all about our psychic ability. Ooh, I love this, the magic stream. I pulled a card basically for each astro dice. It's about flow. It's about allowing that information to come to you. It's about like the symbolism of your psychic ability, like being this waterfall of information from your guides to you. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase that waterfall. We have both of these. But again, we're having conflict, we're having struggles. I see 5s as like conflict, issues, chaos. Ooh, interesting. We have the home card. Ooh, I just heard not being at home in your body. That makes so much sense. Like, we talked a lot about psychic blocks today in various ways, but when we are not at home with ourselves and our intuition, when we're so disconnected from our intuition that it doesn't even feel like part of us, your intuition should feel like home. It should feel comfortable. It should feel so natural. But I think for some of us, it's just been so trained out of us to not know what that feels like. You know, we're coming back home. We're learning this magic. We're learning what this intuition feels like. And that's where the struggle is we're learning. And that's part of it, you know? And as long as we're pushing forward and trying to improve it and really putting in the practice and the action, we're going to have that connection. We're going to have that access to our more intuitive side and be able to have those messages come through for ourselves and others. Oh, love that. I'm so glad I did this. Well, if you were watching at the very end, you can leave me a little water emoji in the comments down below to let me know you watched to the very end. So thank you all, and I will see you in my next pick a card reading, whenever that may be. Just know too that on my Patreon, we do monthly pick-a-cards. I also do individual readings for everybody at certain tiers and up. So yeah, we have a lot more content over there, especially if you like pick-a-card readings. I know some of you have said that, and I only do them every now and then here, but you'll get them a lot more over on Patreon. Alrighty, thanks for watching. Bye!